Okay, this video is called Orange Blonde Challenges Dr. Rogers. Someone who has an avatar called Orange Blonde, you can click on their picture and see it. They don't have any subscribers. They didn't join YouTube that long ago. In my experience, these are usually fake profiles that people just use. You know, the meat companies have billions of dollars. They pay people to go around saying that meat's a health food, okay? Pretty easy job. So I'll bet you that's what this is. So anyways, here's the comment that Orange Blonde writes. They said, challenge to Dr. Rogers. Can you name a single compound naturally found in unprocessed meat or milk of grass-fed ruminants like beef, lamb, butter, or full-fat dairy that has been shown in a randomized controlled trial to cause cancer through a proven mechanism of action? Not correlation, not rodent models, not processed meat confounders. We're asking for a direct, biologically plausible cause and effect in humans for the actual compounds in ruminant meat or milk. Okay, so a couple points here. Number one, good luck doing a randomized control trial for cancer. It takes decades and decades for the effects to occur. Now, that's number one. Number two, if you look at almost all the nutrition data, it's usually fake stuff done at Ivy League type places where they lie about the categories. They'll call it low fat, where 30% of calories from fat. To me, low fat means less than 10%. But anyways, let me specifically go into a little bit of this stuff about meat. So here is my response. I wrote, spare me with the meat is a health food routine. You can't polish a turd. Meat increases cancer risk in numerous ways, and I will list some here. Number one, Dr. T. Colin Campbell showed that the higher the milk protein intake, that's casein, the milk protein, the faster liver cancer grew. He could start and stop the cancer, turn it on and off by removing or adding casein to the diet. He studied diet and cancer for over 50 years, and he said that dairy was the number one most important carcinogen in the world. Dairy makes things grow fast, as in a baby cow rapidly gaining weight, hundreds of pounds in the first year. TCC's research group concluded that any amount of animal protein increased the risk of cancer growth, and that people should not eat any at all. The ideal amount of animal protein intake is 0%, none, zero, because any intake appears associated with increased risk of cancer in humans, according to T. Colin Campbell. Reason number two, animal protein has more methionine and leucine amino acids, so it is a different amino acid composition than plants, and these activate mTOR, which means they promote cell replication, which indicates that they are likely to promote cancer growth. Number three, animal foods cause increased insulin-like growth factor, which is associated with increased cancer growth. Number four, animal foods have zero fiber, and this is associated with increased risk of leaky gut, which is associated with amyloid clotting, trimethylamine oxidase, xenocellulitis, and all of these things with more inflammation, more atherosclerosis, more tissue hypoxia, which is associated with the Warburg effect, and more cancer. Number five, animal foods tend to have a lot of saturated fat. Saturated fat causes red blood cell rouleau formation, also called blood sludge, which is associated with tissue hypoxia, which is associated with Warburg effect and more cancer. Number six, animal foods tend to be higher in iron, and heme iron is more highly absorbed than is plant iron. Increased iron intake is associated with more activation of mTOR and more cancer growth. Number seven, animal saturated fat is the number one cause of insulin resistance. It inhibits electron transport chain of the intermitochondrial membrane. Mitochondrial inhibition leads to increased accumulate of the substrate for succinate dehydrogenase, which means succinate. The succinate exits the mitochondria, travels to the cytoplasm, and it inhibits prolyl hydroxylase, meaning that it activates hypoxia-inducible factor alpha, and that then travels to the nucleus and functions as a transcription factor to increase the amount of VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, and this pushes cells towards more anaerobic glycolysis, in other words, towards a more cancer-like physiology, and this contributes to the acidification of the extracellular space. So it promotes a microenvironment that is favorable to cancer. A low pH in the extracellular space suppresses immune function. Number eight, populations that eat more meat have more cancer. Those that eat less meat have less cancer, like Papua New Guinea smokers who had 6 times less lung cancer than did the American smokers, and it is thought that that was because of the decreased fat, less tissue hypoxia related to diet. Number 9, meat tends to be preserved or flavored with salt, and this increases cancer risk because it causes a low-grade metabolic acidosis, because the chloride displaces bicarbonate in the blood and there's a relatively fixed amount of anions in the blood. This mild metabolic acidosis promotes a tumor microenvironment favorable to cancer. Cancer has an advantage over normal adjacent tissues with an acidic tumor microenvironment, tumor milieu. Number 10, the methionine contains sulfur, which also creates a low-grade metabolic acidosis in the process of its degradation. Some of it's made into sulfuric acid, which then has to be buffered. Okay, that metabolic acidosis is again creating a favorable cancer tumor microenvironment, increasing the chance that cancer will proliferate. Number 11, the lack of fiber in gut leads to a different gut flora, because normal healthy gut flora feeds on plant fiber. So when you don't have that fiber, there's no fiber in meat, you get more so-called bad bacteria. These meat-related gut bacteria have more of an enzyme called glucuronidase. This cleaves the conjugation of estrogen to glucuronic acid. So when you cleave the conjugation of estrogen, by the way, when it's in excess, the liver secretes it into the bile. And before secretion, it conjugates it with glucuronic acid, makes it more soluble in the bile. So when you remove this conjugation to the glucuronic acid, the estrogen is then reabsorbed into the body, so it raises bodily estrogen levels. Instead of normally the body would get rid of this excess estrogen by defecating it out of the body. Well, when it gets reabsorbed because the bad meat-related bacteria have deconjugated, then that means that the bodily estrogen levels go up, and this increases the risk of breast cancer and endometrial cancer and of uterine fibroids. And there's other reasons why meat causes cancer. I made an entire video called Does Meat Cause Cancer? And there were like 30 ways. I'm just kind of getting warmed up here, but I think that makes the point.